G'day, I'm Alistair Christie from LearnDelphi.tv. I've just got back from Auckland, flew in last night where I attended the Delphi XE6 product launch in Auckland yesterday morning, so that was the 2nd of May 2014. Now, we were fortunate enough to have Marco Cantu over from Italy to give some of the product demonstrations, and after the event I sat down with him for an interview which I recorded, and we talked for about an hour and a quarter or so. So get yourself some popcorn, sit back and enjoy. Okay. G'day, I'm Alistair Christie from LearnDelphi.tv, and I'm here with Marco Cantu from Embarcadero. So I'll let you introduce himself a little bit.
Yeah, I'm the product manager for Delphi and RadStudio. I work with technologies. I work out of my house in Italy, but I work for the US head office where we do all product management and planning and strategic decisions on the product. And then I work with the R&D teams that are located around the world, like Europe, US, and in other places. And like traveling a bit to go promote and explain and show the new XE6 product.
Okay, so you've been traveled from Italy to Australia?
Yeah, I got to Australia, I got here to New Zealand, I'm going back through Taiwan, and then back home.
Excellent. So you've been pretty jet lagged by the time you get home?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I get fine when I had to get home. Yeah, kind of classic.
So Marco is over in New Zealand here demonstrating some of the new features in XE6. It looks to be quite a good release, quite new sort of look and feel to it, new images on the buttons and things like that for the IDE.
Yeah, we try to that was part of it, try to clean it up and keep going. I mean, it's dangerous when you have like a specific focus, that in you're like too focused, you're just focused on one part of the product. This release really goes around like everything. So we've got like cleanup in the IDE, including bug fixing, but also like some improvements that look and feel. We've got through the RTL to fix bugs, to name issue, improve performance, and then throughout all of the various areas, I mean, database improvements, FireMonkey improvements, mobile improvements, but also VCL improvements that were missing for a couple of releases. So the idea is really to keep growing the product in all areas rather than just have a single focus, which again, you have to do at times when there is a lot of pressure to push the product, and the product has changed from a Windows focus to a Windows and multi-device mobile product. So that was a big push, but now that we're done with the main step, which is getting compilers for all platforms, now we can get back to like grow the product more organically.
Indeed, and hopefully fix some of those long-standing IDE issues that people.
That's one of the things, and we fixed a few, and there are a few more. There are a few more we want to fix. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, some parts of the IDE are still written .NET, aren't they? That's from the refactoring and.
The IDE is quite a complex piece of software.
Yeah.
That's how it turned out. There is C++ code, there is C# code, there is Java code, there is a bunch of the bulk of Delphi code, of the Pascal code, but still it's not something you can like kind of that easily move up and down.
So will the plan be to get it all written in Delphi at some stage, or?
Not really. I mean, the plan is to like look for the areas that are weak and improve or potentially redo areas, but not like get the task of redo the entire IDE, because at that point you'll get something that works exactly the same. And for like a year, you get like nothing new.
Nothing new, yeah.
Which is kind of not ideal for the business and also for the customers, because you've done the refactoring, nice, it's work exactly how it used to work. Okay, fine. And you should pay for it. I mean,
this is true.
It's kind of a weak proposition, but again, the goal is every release to get a bit redone or cleaned up. So over time, you get into something that's more stable, more solid, and works better. That's kind of a step-by-step approach to solve the same issue.
Yeah, I've not had much chance to play with XE6 yet. I did a short video on changing the screen cursor on FireMonkey. It's quite limited. I did a few little FireMonkey things, and I've played around a bit and written some bits and pieces. But
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah. FireMonkey is the area that overall still got the largest majority of new features and of fixes, because I mean the VCL has its own quirks and there are a few things we definitely want to get to and clean up. But if there are bugs, there are like so much well-known workarounds for the bugs, but they've been there in a while.
And expected behavior as well. Now the bugs are
Somehow,
relying on.
yeah, it happens that you fix something that you think that's really broken, and people complain. Hey, yeah, I mean, my code was like written like expecting that bug, so it's kind of okay. Yeah, you really have to use a lot of caution when fixing a bug that's been around like 10 years.
I think Microsoft had a lot of those problems.
Oh yeah. I remember when they fixed it was like in late cycle in XP when they fixed this very annoying bug on the behavior of pop-up menus, that you could have a pop-up and an overlap window kind of behaving the same. So they went back and fixed the pop-up. And the fact of the fix the pop-up that every other application, including Visual Basic application, including Delphi application, including our IDE, would nicely have a modal window that was behind the main window, and it was kind of okay. How do you get out of that? And you have seen that, and that was people got back to Microsoft. How do we change that? Oh, there was a bug. I mean, yeah, the bug was introduced like in Windows 2 and kept around in Windows XP. Now we fix it. You know, that's not a good idea. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm not one to like take excuses, but honestly, at times you have to put an extra caution, so you have to fix the bugs and provide a way people to still have a version that has the bug in it, so they like as an option.
Yeah, like on data modules, they have the old create order and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we keep some of this. Oh, this is only for backward compatibility. Let's keep it a version of 2, and after 10 version is still there, because some people rely on it, and honestly,
I think
it's difficult.
One of the lovely things about Delphi is its backward compatibility, and that you can take the old Fishfax application written in Delphi 1 and recompile it in the latest version of Delphi. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a big goal. Although at times it's expensive, so we did make some breaking change, specifically going to mobile, because keeping all of that extra options and like compatibility layers around is really expensive for the product. So because the product gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, it's kind of worrisome. For example, if you look at the method installer versus the Run Studio installer, basically they have like the same core stuff, but you know one thing. I mean, method is so smaller because we've removed all of the things that generally don't want to need and keep like there's no BDE, like there's no some of the old stuff that's around just in case, and so having a lean and mean product kind of is a positive. But we can't do that on our studio in that scale at that speed, because of course there is a lot of developer out there that need compatibility.
Well, I'm still using the BDE in some of my applications, which that is probably not going to change ever unless something breaks horrendously. But yeah, I think the backward compatibility is both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You need to be compatible, but you need to move. You need to improve the language, and at times improving the language means considering some cases where you're not backward compatible, because otherwise it really gets out of control. And we can think of all the issues, and we might have made mistakes, but really, I mean, like having a language that has like 15 different string types in it, I mean, that's mind-blowing. I mean, it means you have Q&A people that just test strings a bit all year long, and they could put their work to do like a couple of extra things, honestly. So it's always a trade-off, and again, I'm not saying we always have the right decision, but there is a significant trade-off of keeping everything working from the past. So at times you have to cut some errors. Like we did. We removed the web snap from XE5.
That's true.
Not that many people noticed because it wasn't really widely used.
I don't think it worked particularly well either. I tried compiling something in, I don't know, maybe XE2 or something like that.
Well, yeah, it was kind of long abandoned, but honestly what happened is that there were a couple of units that were part of it that people have used outside of it, and so I actually put those back. I mean, that was like a mistake. We just cut that stuff out, and we kind of used too big of an axe and removed a couple of things that were useful, and so those are getting actually back. I actually got them back in one of the hot fixes, I think. So again, it's always a little of a trade-off, but you need to. You can like keep adding. If you keep adding, you go. I mean, we have a 5 gigabyte installer. We can't really keep adding.
It is pretty excessive. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, adding the Android SDK and NDK added like a good 1.5 gig to it. So that was like the big jump forward. But still, it's something it's nice shipping. So you get a single install, everything up and running.
Oh yeah.
But
It is nice just to be able to install it and plug in Android phone and
exactly.
install
So, yeah.
configure the phone and then have it work.
Yeah, that was the goal, and I think that was a good idea. We can do the same on iOS because that would be would highly upset Apple. So
yeah.
we're not trying that, but potentially that would be nice to install the Xcode SDK and all of that stuff along with our product.
Yeah.
But that's not doable not for technical reasons.
Yes, lawyers getting in the way of having fun.
A few times, yeah. We have to like try to not do. We would some freedom and not to upset people you don't want to upset, kind of model. And again, Google is being quite friendly, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah. So do you like talk to people at Google? Regarding
Not
stuff,
personally myself, but yeah, we have people that talk with Google. It's easier than with Apple. With Apple, it's kind of, we are building development tools for your. Oh, we have one. You don't need anything else. I mean, you sure you don't need anything else? No. I mean, Xcode is perfect.
Use Xcode, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, there are other languages out there, other tools. No. Xcode does everything. I mean, yeah, I know, but you know. So they have a little bit of that attitude. That's different in Microsoft. Microsoft has their own tools, but they're very open to, historically very open to third parties and partners and SDK licensing. Google is more, I'll do what you want kind of style. But we have a relationship. We actually have a relationship with others, with Samsung, with Nokia, with a bunch of other companies that we talk with, and we try to make sure there is compatibility with the corresponding tools.
What sort of issues do you, in terms of like phones and things with compatibility, has it been kind of a nightmare to be able to compile one form that works on a 1080p Nexus 5 and I don't know, 800 by 480 or something like that?
Yeah, the size is this difference in size factor is an issue. It used to be an Android issue, and I'm pretty sure it's getting back into an iPhone issue. I mean, Apple used to say, "Oh, we are good. We have one form factor." It was the iPhone. And when they got the Retina, which is same form factor but like twice the resolution, so it's not really one, it's 2. And of course they had the iPad, and fine, and the iPad Retina, and it's 4, and the iPad Mini, and
same resolution but different size.
Same resolution, different size, so kind of. And now they are probably going to have the small iPhone and the fat iPhone, like 3 to 5 inches. So it's going to be messy. Android is already way over. I mean, any possible. There is like every possible point resolution difference, and so we are delivering a bunch of technologies. We do have a few tricks in terms of being able to create applications that use some of the classic tricks like alignments and anchoring and the thing that we inherited from the VCS. Basically, we moved. Now that we're beginning, but we're added later or moved to FireMonkey. You can do some good job, but it's still tough. I mean, from a phone to a tablet is clearly not obvious. So today we do offer a few tricks that help, like you can use frames, means you can have like 2 frames that on a phone app are onto 2 pages of a tab, and on a tablet goes like side by side. Yeah. So that's the solution around it. The other option you have is visual form inheritance. You can have a form, inherit from it, like add some extra components if it's wider, and kind of handle it. So we do have some technical solutions. None is ideal, and we do have some specific development in what we are calling multi-device designer. So that's something that will ship in the future, but it's based on the current architecture, but adding some extra features that will help developers at design time, design applications that scale better and update and migrate better from device factor to device factor. And again, it's more big to small than really like iOS versus Android. iOS versus Android with some styling and a couple of extra tricks, and occasionally on if that you can handle it. But big, I mean, very, very small versus Samsung is coming out with 12-inch tablets.
Really? That's pretty big.
12-inch tablet, and I don't know how many pixels. They have more density than Retina. So I don't know. It's like an unbelievable number of
25,
pixels.
60,
I don't remember the specs, but it's like something. And actually, I've seen them in Barcelona, the Mobile World Congress. I mean, resolution is just. You can see photos and videos. I mean, just mind-blowing. It's like a high-quality TV in your hands. But then the same tablet, you can run 4 applications side by side. It has 4 core and can have 4 Android, like what Microsoft does partially with the side by side thing. And so you can run 4 things in 4 windows, like Twitter, the video, the mail, whatever. So, well, of course, it's a different form factor within the same device. So that's getting even worse. I mean, with multiple views and multiple applications running on the same device on Android, you're getting into another scenario where you can have a physical device that has multiple views, and that's we think we have a bunch of different options and technical things you can put together. We are going to the point going to have a specific solution for multi-device in the future, and also we're cleaning up some of the components to be more flexible, like a drawer that can show a drawer if you don't have space, but becomes a list if you have enough room on the screen. I mean, some flexibility and ways to adapt, kind of automatically adapt the component to the screen space. So a component that kind of disappears into a pop-up or shows up depending if there's enough room.
Okay, yeah, that makes good sense.
Yeah, so these are a few things we're working on. It's going to take a little, but I've seen some internal demos that actually look quite nice.
Well, look forward to seeing them being released to the sort of general public, I guess. I noticed between, I don't know, XE3 and XE4 or something like that, the margins and what's the margins?
Oh yeah, margins and paddings.
They swapped. Is there an interesting story behind that? Or?
Well, the story is that they were in VCL versus FireMonkey, they were exactly the opposite.
Yes.
And honestly, VCL was mapped into how margins and padding works in HTML5 and in some other environments. So FireMonkey somehow the 2 concepts were reverted. I mean, the names of the 2 things were reverted. Yeah. So it was kind of a painful decision because it breaks a lot of code. But honestly, it was like. It's really wrong. The sooner the better, because the more time you wait, the more code the result. It was kind of painful to say, yeah, we're breaking lots of code, but it was really, it's a mistake. It happens. I mean, it's just name something and you realize the name is
really
not.
The names don't mean much in terms of distinguishing between the 2 of them.
But again, but these names have a specific, and it's not mostly because of VCL, but it's because of how. When you do styling, when you use a grid or use other components in HTML, that's kind of a common way of thinking.
Yeah.
And that's the place that these names come from is actually HTML, but somehow they were being reversed. And we see other things at times. We have like properties or names that are misspelled. We keep some of those, but at times we do fix them because it's kind of, okay, it's wrong.
Yeah. I mean, when you build an API or something and you got a misspelling in the...
Yeah. There's still things around. For example, I know that in some of the tools API, there are a couple of things called code inside, where inside is SITE rather than site, like And I think they were kept. I mean, that's just internal things. Okay, it's just an unusual spelling, like when you put it that way. But in other cases we do trim the names, and that at times causes some issues. Although, for example, when we did a bunch of changes, even some property names and enumeration names between XE5 and XE6, and we made sure that there is most of the existing code still compiled. So, for example, the property name changed, but there is a way to load from the old FMX file, the old name, still apply to it, and then when you save it, it's gone. But at least there is some compatibility in one direction. So there was some effort put into try to make the code compatible, like all of the new enumeration that are now more pure. You get warnings.
Yeah, I saw it done with record helpers.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite a good way of doing it.
So we added. I mean, we added that code that was immediately deprecated to get the warning, but at least that code makes. And again, there are a couple of cases it doesn't work. we miss those, but most of it recompiles, just spits a warning, just suggested to fix it, and in some version in the future we'll kill those backwards compatibility things.
One day.
One day. Well, probably shouldn't take that much, honestly, because it's just a temporary.
Particularly if the warning's coming up, people will get around to changing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, what's sort of your favourite new feature of XE6?
I'd say in terms of overall product, I love the up tethering, the way you can actually hook very easily using local network, using automatic discovery. You have your mobile application, you have the desktop, you just drop a couple of components, hook them together, and they can like send commands, send messages, send screens, send images one to the other. And it's very, very smoothly integrated, so you can easily take your existing VCL applications and make them mobile enabled without really touching much of the code, just plugging in a companion app. I think that's a great feature in terms of adding power and also bridging the gap between our VCL Windows specific library, which again is going to keep going, get improvements, and the mobile world, which is of course is a very big place to be into, but trying not just to have this like as two separate products, but like to make them work together as much as we can. So that was great. And talking of like specific, smaller, but to me key features, the new way that persistent fields work. So you can mix persistent and non-persistent fields in your data set. That's the same.
It's something that's annoyed me for a really long time.
Oh, I hated it. And I wrote a bunch of code. Okay, there is a way you can actually intercept. You can do before open, you can do after open, you have to do while open, so you have to like intercept some virtual method, and so there is a time that you can actually plug in your extra field. It was such a mess. Now it's straightforward. You can have persistent fields, a dynamic query, you add fields to the query, you can get those merged, you can avoid persistent fields but still have the calculated fields, which was kind of impossible before. Again, possible but require really a lot of code. So there were some third-party libraries providing that fix, but this is now inside T-Dataset, so everyone can get it. It's a foundation.
Typically, the way that I've seen it done is like you have no persistent fields, and you programmatically add the calculated fields.
Yeah, there were many like ways around it, but honestly, there's not a reason to implement it. It just was done that way in Delphi 1, and was kept the same like throughout 17 versions. And,
almost 20 years with the history.
And so there was some internal discussion. I was all for fixing it. I actually had, I had my own small libraries and code. There was like the ability to create. I had a library that was able to add calculated fields with anonymous methods that I think is actually quite nice as an idea. Rather than having to hook an event to the table, because then you can hook the same calculated method to like multiple data sets, kind of the same code. And that required like messing up with the field. So I said, I mean, why is that required? Can we fix it? And so there was some discussion, and it was not trivial again because we implemented it. I mean, the first time was great, like broke like all of the code out there. So I did another run, broke some of the code out there, so we did another run. So it had like, I don't know how many iterations there was between R&D and Q&A, different people in R&D, but eventually I think we nailed it down quite nicely.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And again, because again, when you touch that code, I mean, there could easily, I mean, and it's kind of mind-blowing. I mean, I used to think more in terms of, okay, I'm a developer, I build some software, I have some users, the code has to, I mean, their application has to keep working, and that's it. Now you think you're changing something in T-Dataset, it's been around 18 years, how many lines of code are there? I mean, it's not millions, it's billions of lines of code that somehow rely on that behavior. So you change it, you can break like everything out.
It has to be a very, very subtle difference in
so
behavior.
That's why at times, I mean, I can understand people complain, hey, there's this bug, I mean, this is an easy fix, fix it. You know, there are these billions of lines of code that might not be happy with the fix. It's not like, so if we really need to put a lot of care, even for like trivial fixing, because it's not always a given that it's trivial. It's trivial for your code, but again, there is quite a lot of Object Pascal code out there that's being kept, being maintained, some in very old version of the product, some is moving, some in the newer ones, and so you really need to move with a lot of. It's easier when you build a new library. I mean, you're building up, tethering. Okay, it's new stuff. I mean, you can really come up with the design you want. Can not going to break anything. It's your lots of flexibility, change things the last minute. But with something that's been in the product forever,
any change to the VCL, there's someone's going to.
Yeah, and again, that's what we can change. We can still change FireMonkey way more than the VCL because there is 1/100th of the code out there on that library. So we can just use, for now, hopefully in the future there will be a lot of code and will really be slow in changing. But for now, that is what it is. So we
as you say, it's better to change it now.
And we are trying like to, okay, what is required? Okay, the sooner the better because the more time goes by, the more people use it, the more code is out there, the more code we're going to
people are going to whine, basically.
Exactly. So that's part of it.
Indeed. So you've written a few sort of mobile apps with your son.
Yep.
Which sort of humorous tales about in your presentation. Just want to talk briefly about your experiences with building mobile in Delphi.
The thing I started, I mean, not that I have a lot of free time, but so I started playing a bit with phone building apps and with my son who's 10. So it's not, I mean, he'll eventually get a developer. Right now he's just providing ideas, guidance, but we do side by side. He can like work with the designer, I mean, work on a few things, and then write the code. And so doing experiments in various areas. I mean, of course, it's his choice of topics and applications. So the only one that's really public is this Lego figures application that's quite cute. It's been around since the end of the year. And it's an interesting experience because this world is so completely different. I mean, you build a Windows application. It's not that people download it. I mean, you have to like marketing, promotion, contact people one by one, get someone to install it. So you take this kind of do nothing app that shows these figures and get a new one every now and then. It's really very simple, like 2 screens, nothing special. And overnight you get like a few thousands people using it, and out of nowhere, literally. Yeah, I blog about it, but I mean, I don't reach as many people, and not all of my blog readers will just install the Lego figures app. So,
I certainly didn't.
But yeah, so it get to like a few thousands, and then a few tens of thousands, and it's an interesting experience. Like you used to see when you publish a new version, how fast the adoption is. Again, it's something that on the desktop world
you have no clue about, really.
Yeah, no clue. It doesn't really happen. I mean, people keep using like 10 years old applications because they just work. Even if you warn them, oh, there is an update, most of the time just say, okay, yeah, for later. On the mobile, I mean, most of the people have the automatic update.
Just happens.
Just happens.
If you use the application or not.
Absolutely. So as long as you don't change the permissions, that's dangerous. If you change permissions, then it requires. In fact, we just published a new one with the advertising, of course, taking advantage of XE6, and that one requires a change in permission because there was no internet access. Now there is internet access, and the adoption rate is much lower, like a fraction of the one that didn't require a change in permission, because one is automatic, one is manual. Right. So manual say, okay, I don't care about this app, so again, that's interesting, and it's really an experience you can, because it's so different from anything that was done in the past. I mean, the scale is just impressive, the numbers are just potentially huge. You see these applications just come out of the blue and get like hundreds of millions of users like overnight. And then disappear as fast. Yeah. And they can disappear as fast as they appear. So it's not like it's always a great business, but yeah. And the other thing, the specific and new thing that I was experiencing these days with this same Lego application is that then we, as I mentioned, we added advertising about 10 days ago, and boy, it's a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money for that application because I'm not, but like $5–10 a day for like Lego figures application and it's not even the display, it's the click-through advertising because it's still, I mean, Google is still purely pay-per-click. So yeah, lots of people clicking on those ads and
clicking by mistake, do you think?
Oh no, because it's not like, there's been other stories of apps that had like the advertising like in the way, so people would mistakenly click on that. No, this is quite on purpose. But you know, advertising are really targeted, so you're downloading a Lego game, you get advertising for another Lego game. So it's kind of likely you want it, and Google actually does a pretty good job of showing ads that are relevant to the mobile user. And
they make billions of dollars doing it. So
oh yeah. If we can make with that application some money,
serious research topic for them, I would say.
Absolutely. But again, the way you can monetize an application with in-app purchase, with advertising, and occasionally also by selling the app, but that's not really the way. It's really impressive. Again, with the numbers that are available out there, if you have a good idea, it could really work. So it's a different one. And again, it's not that it's the only business for us, but having like this first-hand experience with a couple of simple apps, try to push them out and see the feedback and see the comments on Google and all of that experience is interesting.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that you are an active developer and sort of in charge of the product. You know, it's good to see that there is a. I still spend a fair amount of time, not as much as I wish, but a fair amount of time using Object Pascal and some C++ as well, and writing code, writing demos for the session, but also writing something even if simple, something for the real world, because it's different than writing like a demo. So. Trying to mix and match, still have some web properties that I maintain with some Delphi code running. Shamelessly, I still have my blog that's driven by Kylix, for the good and the bad. yeah, it's a Kylix. And trying to move to DataSnap, it's just a matter of time. I mean, I have like core foundation done, but yeah, it does work somehow, so yeah, why not? But yeah, I do write code and for various purposes, and I do get like customers demo, I try them out, I look for the bugs and try to exercise the product and find the things that are wrong, specifically when the new features come along. And yeah, again, I wish I had more time for writing code. A few other duties I have, that's fine. Yeah,
that's fine.
I still would like to have a bit more spare time for coding, but that's good, particularly yourself. I mean, sort of my day job, I'm working with a lot of legacy code in VCL. Both two large projects, both of which have been in continuous development for about 15 years. You go back and see, oh, that was written in, 2001. It's and it's interesting to see that how coding practices have improved over time in many ways, and some of the stuff written back then is quite horrible to work with now. It's just something that's evolved bigger and bigger and bigger. So
yeah, I can guess. I see some code around that is, but again, it works if you can move it over. It can slowly improve. That's times a good business proposition anyway.
Indeed. It's definitely learning refactoring and stuff. I think is a really important skill if you're working with legacy code. Just to take some of that older code and modernize it slightly. Start using some theorems and things like that, rather than just a two-list as the object list with a specific type. Save you that being wrong.
I think one of the important things that makes a lot of sense is when you can. I mean, it's like to say, okay, throw away that code and rewrite it, but in the real world, that's not something you can do. So when you can leverage something and expand it, like as we were saying, you have list of objects, let's go with lyrics. You have some dynamic behavior, let's plug in some RTTI. You have some data-aware controls, but let's add a couple of other ones that use light binding. Without replacing the data-aware ones, those work fine, okay, great, but let's plug in light binding on the side rather than, okay, let's redo everything with light binding. It's not, that would be nice, but honestly, doesn't really happen. So again, like being able to, and this is one thing that's really great with the app tethering, as the only requirement is you should better have action lists and actions. If you have action lists and action, you're ready to go.
Which have been around since Delphi 4.
Well, since some time. So we hope that most people leverage actions and action lists. So you grab that profile you get a list of actions, you plug, you say this one, this one, this one, and they submit. And so any other application around, VCL, mobile, whatever, can request the execution of the action remotely. So again, if you have the infrastructure, you can leverage the infrastructure, you don't have to rebuild or rewrite the code. Yeah, we could have adopted like different model. Okay, let's like register a class factory and plug in some commands, but that would mean, okay, you have to rewrite all of your code to take advantage of it. So this might not be like the best absolute scenario, although I love actions. I think they are a great abstraction. But they're very effective. You can take existing code and mobile enable it in like a minute. So
yeah, I certainly, watching the presentation, my mind was ticking over kind of the sort of the horrible kind of hacks one could do to mobilize an actual application. Like you do the app tethering and you have a form with, you're filling in data, you kind of add your app tethering to that. So you have a basic form on your Android device, and it kind of just fills in the background into your VC application, all your validation and stuff like that's done on the...
Sure. Yeah, you can do some creative things. I mean, there are some classic demos like we're discussing, like someone would take a picture and just post it to the DB image with like, again, 2 lines of code. But of course, taking a picture with the webcam of the computer is the most ugly thing you can ever think of. I mean, taking the picture with the phone, maybe even go to the other room without like grabbing the computer, just get to the phone, get to the other rooms. It has to be the same Wi-Fi network. Take the picture, go back. The picture is in the DB image. The DB image is handled. You can also say, okay, post to database immediately from remote and done. So that's adding a lot of value without like rebuilding everything from scratch. But there are other scenarios that we are toying with that are kind of more strained. Like we have a demo. It's an internal one for now. You might as well publish it. Or you can use your phone to move your mouse.
Really?
Throughout the entire screen. And also do mouse click and right mouse click like on your Android phone. That's
pretty cool.
That's cute.
I've seen
yeah, it's kind of dangerous. Whatever.
Yeah, Logitech has an app that does that.
Could be.
iOS.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly considered. But then you can.
No, I've used my iPad to do it.
Yeah, I thought that was, well, that's it. Because then the other thing you can do, you can actually use the images, so you can actually capture the image and get it taken over. So yeah, you can do some creative thinking with that.
You can kind of run your own VNC.
Oh, you can, possibly.
Probably not very efficient, but...
Yeah, actually, there are a couple of good ones that run on Android. They're not free, but they're still probably worth the money. But still, yeah, you can creatively do things that are kind of, I mean, the basic is really, execute a command or move some data, but with commands and data, you can do pretty everything. So it's really up to for grab. And then the other thing that this version that has Wi-Fi is like version 1. In the future, the goal is to integrate Bluetooth. So Bluetooth, either driven by the PC or driven by the mobile. So you could use your mobile device and execute an action that I don't know, starts playing on the remote Bluetooth device with the audio, and execute another action that goes to the VCL application within the same architecture.
So the Bluetooth support, will that be able to talk to other Bluetooth devices?
The idea is to talk with Bluetooth devices through the same app tethering architecture.
Okay.
So you'll have other profiles that are not Wi-Fi connectivity profiles, but they are Bluetooth profiles.
So like you demonstrate with your remote control car?
Yeah, I have the remote control car game, which is kind of fun. But of course, it's written like that, coding against the Bluetooth API. We don't have the library at the moment, but yeah.
Okay. So yeah, what else is so there's other new stuff in XE6?
There are a few other new things.
So lots of bug fixes, obviously. That's
quite a lot, yes.
Quality stability.
QPS, quality, stability, and performance,
okay.
Which are at times like different phases of the same type of activity, going back and fixing some stuff. We've done quite a bit of it, more than in the past. Gone back to closing even some old QC bugs. But at times, it really need. I mean, the difference is that at times it was kind of a bit of an afterthought. Okay, we have like 3 days left at the end of the cycle. Let's fix a few bugs. Kind of model. So then, if you don't have the 3 days, okay, sorry for the bugs. So that was a bit, I mean not always, but it's been at times the approach. Now it's really, at the very beginning of the development cycle, we go sit on the table and say, these are the features we want, and by the way, we want like 200 QC bugs fixed. This is like the prioritized list. And then some of them get through, some of them prove to be quite difficult, so it's not kind of a given, but that's the idea. And there is time set aside, not at the very end of the cycle, to okay, let's address issue. Because that allows you not just to do like the patching the code to solve the bug, but really some real refactoring. For example, in XC6, the grid in FireMonkey is kind of rewritten because there was like too many issues around it. It was not just a matter of adding a patch over a patch over a patch. You know how that code looks like after a while. So, okay. I mean, if you do it early enough, you can say, okay, let's like put a full week and clean that stuff out and kind of rewrite it in a better way. If you're doing like at the very last minute, kind of a rush time, you end up like with another patch that fixes this bug and like creates another two, and so that's kind of what you don't want to do, because that doesn't improve quality. So the idea was really to take a slightly different, and also consider performance as part of the testing scenario. So we're doing some performance testing, try to make sure that if we build something new, at least it's not worse than it was. Hopefully it's better, but it's not worse. And we've nailed down a lot of things that were not right at the RTL level, making performance back to what people expect from us. So.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed I was playing with just sort of doing some comparisons between FireMonkey on Windows and FireMonkey on Android, and I was playing with T-List, and I noticed that on Android you put an image and there's a subheading kind of thing. So I thought, okay, so the source code must be different between the two. But no, that wasn't the case. The same unit. So then I thought, okay, it must be some conditional defiance. No, that wasn't the case. But yes, it was the styling. It's the styles.
The styles in Android are extremely powerful. They are complex to master. We don't do a terribly good job with the editors and the style modification. That's something where we know we have to. It's kind of. The thing is, again, it's one of those areas. It's not just a matter of there are like these bugs, fix the bugs. It's really, we have to do it differently, not just like patching. So we're kind of still trying to figure out the best way forward a bit. We have some ideas, of course, but so yeah, it's one of those areas that rather than going patching, you really have to, okay, so wait a second. I mean, what are we doing? How should the process be? And we are changing a few things. Like we're exposing a lot more properties that avoid you to do styling. Example is the tint color for buttons in XC6. And there are other. Like we want to go to the point you can do local styling, so like a styling of a simple element, like a list item or things like that. Because taking over and making a brand new style it's a huge effort. So it's again trying to find the right balance, but styling by themselves is very powerful because it's the look and feel, but it's the component structure, is a lot of things to one single concept. And being powerful is also quite confusing to use, honestly.
Yes, yeah, no, I definitely agree, very confusing, but yeah, it looks, you can do some really clever stuff. It just would be almost impossible with VCL.
Yeah, because that's a direct coding model. I mean, styling really provides you a way to abstract a concept way more than in the traditional. So, honestly, there are many other tools that go in that direction. They might use a different XML-based scripting model, but the concept of a markout and the concept, I mean, FMX or DFM and an XML is just a different syntax, but conceptually it's very similar.
Yeah.
But the concept of styling on top of the markup of the structure that other tools adopt is honestly very similar to what we do. I think we do, again, quite a good job being able to style so closely to completely different platforms like mobile, desktop, Windows, iOS, Android. So I think the end result is quite nice.
Indeed. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to mention? In fact, books.
Interesting
So,
topic.
yeah. So with your last book was the Delphi XE handbook, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think will you be publishing any more, or is you now because you're working from the Embarcadero, it's kind of white papers and stuff?
No, it's both. I mean, I'm doing it for a number of white papers and other internal documents and some public ones. I do have a book project in action. It's a language focused guide. The only drawback is that something I'm doing on my free time and not on my company time, and now that I have that much free time these days. But it's slowly coming along. I've kind of finished the first third of the book, which is already looking nice. So hopefully this year, but I can't really make a promise. Should have an Object Pascal guide, like from A to Z, from the foundations for someone who's never touched the language to like the most recent and advanced features.
So that was actually something I was quite interested in this event. Is that I've been approached by 3 different people new to Delphi.
I was as well, so yeah. Someone asked me, oh, I need to learn Delphi from scratch, which of your books is good? I said, the one I'm writing.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not there yet.
Yeah, there's certainly, and there are a few books being published. Nick Hodges, of course, just published his.
Absolutely, that's a great book on the core advanced features. I haven't read all of it, but I've read like good chunks, and I have it.
I reviewed it recently. You can check the review on YouTube.
I have it also on paper. I got it the last trip to the US. I got it shipped from Amazon to the office. Yeah, it's a very good book. It teaches a lot about new ways of writing code.
Just taking advantage of generics and anonymous methods.
Absolutely,
and the Spring framework.
Yeah. New ways of coding that are extremely relevant.
Very different to the sort of the standard red development.
It is. The two things can coexist. I mean, there are times one is better, there are times you have to go the other way depending on many factors of your development. I mean, Delphi is, and GraphStudio in general, I mean, it's a product that's quite flexible in the coding side. It doesn't force you one direction or the other. And the product is geared towards one specific audience a little more, trying to make things easy, trying to be very productive. But it's honestly very open in terms of capabilities and features. There's nothing really.
No, I've seen some very different styles for creating applications.
Absolutely. So yeah, so it's that's important. No, Nick's book is great. There's been some books around.
Have you read Chris Rolston's XE2 Foundations?
No, I haven't read that.
It's like 600 pages. It's enormous. I've almost finished it.
Yeah. No, that's another good book. I know there are a few coming, or at least, I mean, few people that are trying to get books out. But that's a good time. I mean, actually, we see a lot of push from the existing community, the active members. Actually, quite happy with the new direction, new product, new users coming along. But we've seen some old timers like getting back to the product, which is kind of a good sign. People have been like in other completely other areas and now looking at our mobile solution, and with that getting back to the entire product. So there is a renewed interest throughout the industry, throughout various countries, and that's actually very good. So yeah, kind of expecting like some more in terms of books and documentation coming out compared to a few years back.
I might even write my own. I've got some plans, but it's a matter of finding time.
Sure. No, I mean, writing book is so darn time consuming. So I started this book like last fall. And I was saying, I have it written. I mean, I have all of the content there. So what's it going to take?
Copy and paste.
Yeah. And then you read something and say, oh no, that's so wrong. That's something I wrote like 12 years ago. I mean, that's not good. Let's fix it. And you fix it and say, okay, no, let's throw it away. Let's rewrite it from scratch. And you rewrite it and you have like a basic chapter. That's better. So it's kind of, it's kind of a long process. Also because things change so much really throughout. I mean, we think about language change, about, oh yeah, you have generics and anonymous methods. And these are like, that's kind of easy. This is like a separate chapter that I could take from one of my handbooks and kind of message a bit. But then I got like the essential Pascal, the core stuff, and I say, okay, let's talk about integers. It's not really that integers in 1995 and integers today are really the exact same thing, and you use them the exact same ways. In fact, I'm saying, oh, you are integers, and you know, when you have integers, you can say you have 22, you can say 22.toString, and you know it works, and you get the string. So. Yeah, trying even to teach myself not to go int to string anymore, because that's the old style, but go number to string, because that's the way that a new developer coming from Java, JavaScript, C#, that's what they get. They don't get the old-timer like global.
I do like the new syntax, but I'm using App2XE2 predominantly for day-to-day work, and yes, would like to be using, very much like to be using some of the new syntax.
Yeah. So again, but again, when you go to something so basic as like describing integers, then you can say, okay, how integers work on desktop, how integers work on mobile. And then they say, oh, we have 64 bits. So it's not even like something so simple like, okay, this is how integers work. Again, I started with material written 10 years ago. It's kind of the same, but not really. So there is some effort in rewriting some of that stuff, and that was the effort, trying to get a fresh look also to some of the classic of the language, because it really matters, it really makes a difference.
So how big a book do you think your A to Z of Object-Based is?
I'm aiming for something around 400-500 pages, also because above that the print-on-demand system just don't let you go, so that's kind of a hardcore limit.
So it's smaller and smaller font?
No, I'm trying to keep like the fonts on my list as handbooks. It should fit. I mean, I have stuff, but I have to trim stuff, otherwise it will never end. So, yeah, the goal is around 500 pages.
It's quite a substantial book.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then again, it's going to take
like
a
in the old days of the 1,000-page.
Yeah, I had more free time back then. Yeah, I remember that my first book was actually the biggest I've ever written, the first Delphi one. I had written C++ book before. About 1,500 pages.
That's,
Delphi 1. The first master in Delphi was 1,500. That was enormous. Enormous. Yeah.
No, that's bit of a tree there.
I use thin paper because otherwise it would be too big. Yeah, so whatever. No. That time is gone for the good, I think. But there's still quite a bit in mind.
People don't rely on books like they used to. Like if you go back, the old days of Delphi, you know, there was like, you know, Delphi Unleashed and
there was
Mastering Delphi, and there's this huge number of different variations. But you know, I think a lot more people read blogs and just stuff on the internet. There's so much more.
I don't think you need. I mean, you still need books, but different books. So it was more how to. Okay, how do I get this done? This is the solution. How do I get this done? This is great for like Stack Overflow. It's not, or for a blog post. So individual solutions, one-page articles. They make sense online. But when you think about, okay, I want to like learn the language. Now then, you can go through a bunch of blog posts, but it's kind of hard to get a real picture. So, but not even that. Like, want to get the foundation of the FarmMonkey architecture, or the foundation of database programming. I mean, some of it's more like foundation book, or something like Nick's book. I mean, these are great for a book because it's a lot of content. It has to have a logical sequence, has to guide people through steps, and so a book still makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, one of the things, a lot of my videos are on VCL, and while the VCL doesn't change very much, you know, they do date to a certain extent. I mean, most of them are XE2 and XE3, so that there's not much new that I could add. And I might do a few free videos on some of the new features of the VCL, the taskbar preview and stuff like that. Would be quite good to cover. But I think a lot of books that I refer back to is more architectural kind of stuff. So I'm rereading the Martin Fowler's refactoring book, for instance, and I reread Michael Feathers, working effectively with legacy code. These books tend not to date very much.
Because it covers some of the foundations. That's, I think, is quite important, because again, technology changed so fast that the time the book is published is old. But again, if you focus more on, I mean, a book like Design Patterns for the Gang of the Four is like, I don't know, 20 years old, something like that, but it's still quite a good book out there. I mean, the core, maybe the language implementation is small talk, you don't get that much, but the core concepts are good. So yeah, the coding details, maybe not, but the ideas, the concepts are classic and something people should read. So there are many books in that realm, maybe some of the language guides, some of the core introductions, the technology we use today, like refactoring or some of the architectural patterns for folder and others. These are books that are actually great to read, despite
I mean, if someone's starting to maintain a new to Delphi, but they're maintaining an existing legacy application, they're certainly reading your like mastering Delphi 7 2005. They're still quite relevant.
There's quite some stuff in there. I'm not saying it's not a good book, but I mean, even thinking of going through all of it and say, oh, but this changed, oh, but this changed, it's quite some effort.
Someone new is not going to know what to ignore.
That's one of the issues. Actually, one of the projects I started, but then I derailed it, was I got back the license for Mastering Delphi 5. I don't have back the full license of the later one. This copyright rules sometimes are a bit tricky. So I was thinking, okay, let's get it out as is, and just add notes. So I just say, okay, this, today I'll do it differently. There's a new feature. And so I started going, and after a while I figured out, like, after like 10 pages, I have like 20 pages of notes for 10 pages of text. So I think, no, that's not going anywhere. And so I decided, okay, let's scrap that, let's move to another project. Let's take portions of the book, like the core, and get a brand new book and cover it. Because otherwise it gets so confusing that you say something and you contradict yourself, like, well, again, if there was just a minor update, but it's so much has passed since 15 years ago that really many things don't apply.
Indeed. I think that one of the electronic books are quite good in the respect that you can update them without actually having to have a new.
That's true.
Physical thing printed.
The idea behind this book is to get an electronic version that gets fairly regular updates, this language book, and then a printed version that would be like a snapshot, like so every now and then.
So you thought of doing like, Nick did a lot of sort of community editing?
No, I'm not. It's great, but it does take some extra time. So I'm more inclined to get a bunch of friends and people and get them a copy and get feedback. Well, which is not that different though anyway, but that's the current thinking. That's the change. And also he went through a different process. I mean, it's a more formal process of building the book. I might be still a little old-fashioned, but I like using the word processor.
Yeah, I have to feel like integrated in many ways, and not so into the social networking.
Fully into OpenOffice, and that's more my source days, and then it's. But again, no, I'm getting already some, and be getting more feedback, and then I have an editor that I pay to like clean up my English and the grammar and a few more things.
So how do you find that, because you're obviously not a native English speaker, in terms of writing?
It takes some extra effort, but honestly, 20 years ago it would take me a lot of extra effort. Now the more time goes by, it kind of gets a little easier for me. But it is some effort. There are grammar things I consistently get wrong. Just because
English is a horrible language too.
Oh, whatever, it's a different language, and there are things that are specific. There are things that there are quite a number of like false friends. I mean, things that look like they look in Italian, but they're really like the opposite, or things like that. Those are kind of tricky for me. But my editor, editor is the person who worked on all of the handbooks. He's a UK native, although he lives all over the world. So he that's your stuff. But on the other hand, and that's something that really was difficult for me when I was using regular publisher that had their own process because it has to be edited, it has to be grammatically correct, but there are expressions that I use that might not be that common in English, but still it's my expression. If that's good, it has to be edited, not rewritten. Because if it's written, it's not my book. So this person is actually very good at fixing things to make it right, but not so much that
It's no longer you.
that's no longer me. And in the past, again, using when I worked with Cybex, I mean, I got a couple of very good editors that would work along those lines, like send me a bunch of corrections, say, you know, this is not how you write it, but try to rewrite it so it's yours, but it's correct, rather than I go ahead and just change everything. But others would just change everything. I keep pestering them. No, that's sorry. I mean, maybe correct English I don't understand. I mean, it's my book. I don't understand what's written there, so that's something wrong there. So that was more of a struggle. Now that this is
So you found
working
that
nicely.
people editing your book for English, would they be Delphi people at all, or they have like no clue about Delphi language?
Well, this book is written also for people that have no clue about the Delphi language. So, for example, I've had quite a fair amount of comparison. Like, I don't know, this is how you declare a variable. Oh, by the way, in C#, Java, C++, that would look like this. So, lots of comparison with the curly brace syntax. So, can Java, JavaScript, C#, C++, that at times is similar, at times it's not. I mean, it depends on the language. At times I have okay, this is how you write a class in Delphi, this is C++, this is kind of other languages. So some of it, I mean, not for each and every feature, because that would make the book like 2 million pages, but a few languages, some comparison. So someone coming from those languages would kind of would have an easier way of understanding, okay, that's how it maps. Or like I just wrote something about exception handling, so I have a nice table, so try is try, except is catch, except on is catch, finally is finally. I mean, it's just, okay, so that's how they map. So throw is raise, so this thing, because you say raise, what's raise? Oh, throw, okay, I get it. So it makes it easier for someone coming from another language to catch up. So the book was written with that focus, among others. So try to show syntactical differences between, again, C syntax that is more or less adopted by all the curly brace languages, and the Object Pascal coding style.
Indeed. Okay.
The other thing, about the book in my language, that I always found it quite interesting that I always had readers that were native English, English as the first language, that said, yeah, okay, your English okay, I can read it. Some queries, some odd expression, but it's good. But on the other hand, I had tons of people that were not English speakers or native speakers that came from like all over the world and say, oh, you know, I can read your English pretty nicely, much more than the native English speakers. And you know, I tend to keep sentences quite simple because just that's what I know. I can't really try to make like fancy, complex, subordinate sentences because I get those wrong. So I try to keep things simple, that then makes it very readable for the non-native English reader. That was always the feedback.
That's a criticism of some of my videos, and that I tend to talk quite fast. So I'm not very friendly towards non-English speakers.
Yeah, I try to do it quite fast as well. So on that count, I'm not that good. But, and the other thing that's quite fun, I actually got several times commands saying, oh, you know, I read your book, I like it. There were no examples made like with US sports that I totally don't understand, like baseball examples that like most of the people in the world just don't get because they don't have the experience. So yeah, that's also good.
Football, which
things like that, and then try to avoid, like soccer. They will be, I know they will not work all over the world. So I try to be more like abstract a little bit in my demos. That at times that also helps. Although I had my setup demos converting euros to liras and things that someone in other countries might not really.
Why would you want to do this?
Yeah, might not really get. as such an important thing. But
What's a euro?
yeah, sure, whatever. So so I had my own kind of very specific local demos, but probably not that many.
So what's the stuff you do in your spare time in terms of non-programming?
Well, try to spend most of the time with my kids, and
Yeah.
that's kind of an effort. So building lots of Lego constructions, that's like a good part of it.
Yeah, I used to love Lego.
So lots of Lego. We spend a fair amount of time like going to shops, going to Lego fairs, going to Legoland, and all of these kind of things. That's my son. He's pretty Lego focused. So that's some of it. We actually like a lot going out in the countryside, on the hills, walking, taking time off. Exercise a bit. Not that I'm really an exercise frantic person, but just walking around. I mean, that's something we do everywhere with my wife. In summer, we just take off, go like a couple of hours walking in the woods in the evening. That's great to me.
So you come from a smaller city?
I live in a small city, but then it's kind of hot and humid in summer, so we try to go up on the hills. We have some relatives. We hire a small place regularly and spend there like a month or two in the summer. In Italy, we have like a very long summer break for kids from school. It's like 3 months summer break. So you can like keep the kids in town in the hot, like 40 degrees temperature for the summer. There's like a nonsense.
Warm, yeah.
So either you go in the mountains or seaside, but also spending some time on the hills. I have a swimming pool nearby. We can take some walking. Internet connection is a bit lousy, so that's kind of the drawback, but it's still manageable. So
yeah, I live on a lifestyle block, and there's a generic does roadside cabinet, which is basically a little mini phone exchange. Just next to our property, so we get pretty good internet.
yeah.
Nice. So, well, that's it broken at the moment. I'm sure why. I'll get that resolved in the near future. Okay, well, thanks very much for taking the time to talk on various topics. I hope the viewers will enjoy
I hope so.
knowing a bit more about you and the new version of Delphi.
Sure.
So, anything you want to mention?
No, not
upgrade to Delphi 6.
Easy. Have a look. Download the trial. Try to have a look. We really push. A lot of things. Even if you're not mobile focused, just focus on the VCI. There's quite some meat there. Directly and indirectly, like you find out your RTL stuff. We are pushing new features into the RTL. There's some of it already shows up. We've done some JSON refactoring. Cleaned up some other areas. There's more to come. So there's quite some value, we think, in the product. And of course, then the mobile story is a completely new story. Really recommend you not to underplay mobile. You might not have an immediate business need to go on it, but play with it, get some experience, compile a couple of apps, move them to your phone, put something on the Play Store just for the fun of it, even if you're not. Because it's, again, the mobile phone world, because of the App Store, because of the way money moves, it's completely different. So just
Android device is $50.
Oh yeah. Android devices are very cheap, and it's really changing the world and getting some experience in that area. It's like, developers staying on DOS and saying, I don't care about Windows. Even if you're up in DOS, do some experience, because it's a brand new world. This is even more new, because it's not just the form factor or the features, is the fact, to me that's mind-blowing. We used to have, I still have like a couple of very powerful computers that cost a sheer amount of money, and they know nothing about what's around them. They have, that's a computer. There's a screen, a keyboard, a mouse. That's it. The input is a keyboard and a mouse. When you have a phone in your hands, the input is the orientation. The input is where you are. The input is GPS. The input is you talk to it. The input is the temperature. The input is the surrounding light. You have these nice Android apps. Android have a light sensor. That's something iOS doesn't have. So you have this app, for example, some of the Google mapping. You go in a dark place,
And it changes.
And it changed the color. I mean, because it knows it's in a dark place. I mean, how about that as an input? They need light as an input sensor. And that's just the beginning. I mean, they're going to have more and more like your heartbeat, with the glasses, this, again, it's very difficult to understand it if you don't, for me as a technical person, if you don't try it out and make experiments, because again, you might not have an immediate business need, but just understanding what's happening in that world is absolutely relevant, because that's the way, that's where the largest part of new software development is going that direction and not in the Windows world. Windows is still big, still relevant, still lots of business and money there, but in terms of new software development, that's where the world is going. And again, having the advantage of taking your knowledge in terms of language library tools and a bunch of other things and move it over is something that can really get you started quite soon compared to, let's learn Objective-C and this library and this coding and how do I connect to a database and that environment. I mean, you can get kind of a very easy learning curve with your existing experience and get over and get started on mobile in a pretty nice way. So that's kind of my suggestion.
So what kind of hardware do you run at home? In terms of you said a impressive PC, sort of.
I still have a pretty nice Dell that comes with quite some power, although with Windows 8.1. Not that I use it that much, and then I have a Mac that I use for work that has it has as many virtual machines that the hard drive can fit. Let's put it this way. I had to kill one because it just doesn't fit anymore. Unluckily, I only have a 500 gigabyte hard drive because that's an SSD, so more than that would be slightly expensive.
Yeah.
It's a great drive, very fast, but size is an issue with like 100 gigabyte virtual machines each. That if you had a full flavored Windows.
Yeah.
But so that's what I use. I have an Android phone. I've kind of always been on Android for phones since.
What Android?
I have a Nexus 4, the Google Nexus.
Okay.
It's actually pretty good. The advantage is that every time they update the operating system, you immediately get the operating system. That's great having on the Nexus
pretty
One.
nice.
I like it a lot. And it changes every time. Like the camera was different. How great a picture this time around, but it's good to stay on the curve. And I have an iPod, so it's like an iPhone without the phone. It's a Retina iPod. I use it for testing apps, not that I really use it regularly. I have an iPad that I use when my son is not using it. And also we have at home a couple of Android tablets that my kids started using. So that's kind of a variety. They're more on the Android side than the iOS, but I also have quite some Apple hardware.
I have iPad too. I think I'm pretty pleased with that.
Yeah.
The battery life is starting to wane a little bit in it.
But then I have a Google Chromecast rather than Apple TV, so let's see. We might get an Apple TV as well. Google Chromecast is quite nice and cheap way to project something on your TV.
Yeah, I ordered one but never turned up. I need to follow that up.
It's just a $25 device. You plug in, it has a plug-in. The plug-in is actually HDMI, so you just plug into the HDMI, you power it through a USB, it has Wi-Fi, and it basically lets you do any YouTube video full screen on the TV and display pages on your Chrome browser, whatever platform, so desktop or mobile, you can just display the Chrome, so any HTML page with anything running on it. And then it has support for Netflix and a couple of other online things that, of course, I don't have in Italy, so it's kind of useless.
Not here in New Zealand.
On that respect, but anyway,
there are some,
still nice.
You can do some clever proxying to allow you access, but I haven't experimented with that as yet.
Yeah, no, Apple TV is more broad as a concept. That is also slightly more expensive, and again, it also doesn't come with any service in Italy because it's not supported. At times I go to the US, I buy things, I go back home, okay, that's not supported. I mean, what do you mean it's not supported? Oh yeah, you can have applications. Like I got, some time ago I got a Kindle Fire, so I got it home, hooked to the App Store. Oh, you're not allowed to get apps because you're in Italy. you serious? Can you get the video? Oh, you're not gonna get videos because you're not in the United States. I bought this piece of hardware. Can I use it for something? Oh, you can read books. Okay, yeah, thanks, Amazon. But I ended up like changing the DNS to get a few things done. But anyway, I mean, it's more and more your hardware just as a way to consume a service. So if the service is not available in your country, hardware becomes a little useless.
It is, yeah. It's a bit odd actually, the sort of globalization, but I suppose it's all to do with licensing, maybe video content stuff.
Yeah, that's specific so it really puzzles me more apps. I mean, how can I download an app from the App Store more than I mean, video I can understand. There are like rights wrong that they want to protect. But it's true in the old world, it's true in the new world. Like as I was mentioning, I buy Lego bricks, and at times we see something online. We go online to the Lego store, the official Lego store in Italy, buy something. Oh, we don't ship in your country. Yeah, what's the point? Oh, that's a new set. Yes, I mean that's why I want it. So I get it cheap to my US to the office in the US. So I go to the office with a big bag, get the Lego bag, whatever. I mean it's fun. It's shipped from Denmark to the United States, and then I bring it back to Europe. I mean, how's that for a model? Okay. So it's not only the new digital world that has this restriction. It's like it's more visible. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Good talking to you.
Sure.